Welcome, listeners, to the podcast that's the business equivalent of trying to put together IKEA furniture without the instruction manual. Yeah, you might end up with an extra few screws, but hey, that's innovation for you, right? So trust the process. In a world that changes faster than you can say, wait, TikTok just isn't for teenagers anymore? We're here to be your much needed GPS on the winding, unpredictable, and often pothole-filled road of business development. So grab your suit, your coffee, or let's be honest, your whiskey, and get ready for a roller coaster ride through the land of strategy, adaptability, and the occasional corporate buzzword. Now, on to the serious stuff. Business development, a career and an industry as diverse as it ever is changing. And so on for our usual intro. So stay tuned, and remember, if you're not laughing while trying to navigate the chaos of business development, you're probably doing it wrong. Welcome to the Industry Sweep, presented by the one and the only Keanu Reeves lookalike alive today, Linus. Hello, everyone!
All right, Eric, thank you for that beautiful introduction. And now to talk about business development. An industry that's ever-changing, characterized by a need for adaptability, problem-solving, and strategy. Its professionals must cross the many frontiers of current and emerging trends in order to stay relevant and successful in large spectrum of businesses they find themselves in. Now their titles might change, just as much as the environment around them, but change itself is the driving force behind the work that they do. The constant need for evolution in business is not always comfortable, but it's up to the people to set a suitable pace to minimize the risk of the ship running aground. A white-collar tightrope act. The true innovators in the industry know that success comes from a careful balance of methodology and vision. Now in this podcast, we'll be exploring the minds of two industry professionals, diving into their stories, experiences, and career paths with the aim of getting a better grasp of business development industry, both as a whole, but also how to navigate it. Now, which qualities does one need to possess, and what does the future of the role look like? As a business development is a job that exists within every field of work, we chose today to keep our guests and talks more about the abstract part of the industry. And you already got to hear speakers talk a lot about the tangible part of the industry. But today, you're gonna get a whole new perspective of business development. Stick around and find out. And welcome everyone.
All right, I was thinking about
Industry
just kickstarting it a bit lively here by you introducing yourself and who you are and what you're doing.
Okay, so I'm Mariana Treigher. First of all, I'm Brazilian. I'm a mom. I love social change. And today I work as digital marketing director at Hyper Island. But I'd say that I have like multiple interests and a diverse background in my backpack. So yeah, it's hard sometimes to define in one thing.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. So, talking a little bit about your experience and what you're doing now, is there like any special qualities that have helped you along the way to get where you are now?
Yes, I would say like one that really stands out is actually the power of reflection. And it is something that I've learned at Hyper Island. I'm an alumni from the Business Developer Program. And I would say many people, they think they reflect. But if you think about the actual, ceremony and the ritual around proper reflection, when you write down a piece of paper and you have some guiding questions that are very powerful, you can really understand what's happening, in your life and draw conclusions and key learnings that you can apply. So when a situation happens, for me, it's so good to sit down and reflect like, okay, what happened? How did this impacted me? How do I feel about it? What need was met or not met? And what are the key learnings that I have that next time something like this happen, how would I like to act, in that situation? And that has helped me to keep improving and build some sort of like self-leadership, because situations and challenges will always happen, but the way that I react to them, it's just on my, responsibility to take care of. So I was a very explosive person, reacting very fast and thinking that, oh, my idea is the best. I have all the answers. So there were so many things in me that was holding me back to grow, professionally, but also relationships, friendships. And by doing reflection, I could really, shape my personality in a way that, okay, I still feel confident about my knowledge and I have a lot of ideas, but I listen to people first before I give my idea, for example. And this came through like a lot of reflections, understanding myself and trying different approaches when a similar situation comes.
All right, very cool. So to just summarize a bit, the tool that's been useful for you is reflection, and it's helped you to develop listening and self-leadership.
Yes, I would say that it's beyond the tool. It's a superpower that we all have, but
I like that,
just a few are using,
Right. We're getting started with that as well. And maybe that could be like a trend to come for business developers. Anyway, talking about trends, is there any like predictions do you have for upcoming trends?
Ooh, that's a big question.
Thank you so much, Marie, for an inspirational talk. Focus on collaborating and reflecting.
Thinking about business
Next
development
up, we're going to talk with
as an
Iñaki.
area,
It's going to be a very creative talk about trends.
I would say that,
and a new perspective
there was
on
a big
business
boom
development.
of design
Stick around
thinking,
and find out.
right? Where many people are like, oh, we need to apply design thinking at workplace, and big organizations trying to understand how to do that. And that has dropped a little bit. And now I see a trend of like how we are collaborating, because to answer business needs, to be agile, and adapt to change very fast, like just happened in the pandemic, that, many businesses were like flipped, to have and had to reinvent themselves. And for that, you need high levels of collaboration, to draw like understand insights and ideas to prototype and then innovate within your business to continue being relevant and grow, and etc. So I think, again, from the way that I see collaboration, it's like a trend, and a few companies that I'm quite close to, I see how they are investing a lot in that area by implementing a proper team to take care of the culture. And it's not like that kind of fluffy culture where people are playing video game in the office. No, it's really taking care of like, okay, what is the team development setup? What is the feedback culture? Are we educating not only the leadership, but also the team members to have that culture of feedback? So many people are scared to feedback each other, and then they hold that for a long time until it's really hard to solve the problem. And when you have that culture of collaboration, taking care of the culture and helping people to feedback each other, you open up like such a great opportunity for business growth and innovation that can't happen without that. So then, like, you see companies being able to innovate within the team members that are part of the organization, instead of going to external agencies to bring this innovation.
Right.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Great answer. So collaboration. You touched a lot about collaboration inside the company and within like the business. Do you see that there's like a way of collaborating between companies as well, and maybe with competitors?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I would say that, like, I would say that depends on the business. When I was running like my own business before Hyper Island, I would call the competitors, potential partners, because in the industry that we were working, we were doing something that was helping people. So of course we have our interest in like growing and becoming the top company, or the chosen one for people to go to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I saw that when we were partnering with other companies that were doing the same thing, we would create like some collaborations that would give us, together a bigger growth. So in that case, we were doing like, it was a platform for parents to understand more about children's development, and especially focusing on children with disabilities. So we had like some doctors writing on the website and guiding these parents to understand like, okay, what my child has, what are the kind of special, like a specialty that I need to look for in order to provide my child the best treatment or the best support, to develop them as much as possible. So when I was teaming up with other websites and magazines, it was such a great, collaboration to do some like online events together, for example. So we all were bringing value together. But I would say, yeah, would depend on the business that you have and how you see the competitors, because sometimes they can be great partners.
Yeah, I love what you said about that. It was really good. Thank you for that. You spoke a little bit about your fields of working, and I'm just curious, is there any like special field in a business where a business developer could be more successful?
Yeah, I like to, to see the business developer role as like a business design, kind of,
Yeah.
person, because if you think about like, okay, how the business model it's in a certain company, if you have the designer mindset, and the design thinking, you ask questions, around the organization, maybe to the clients of the organization, to understand like, okay, what is the problem that we are trying to solve? What is the unique value proposition that we have, that really attracts and benefits these clients? And sometimes, like, if you look at companies, some of them, they need to keep changing that value proposition to, continue being relevant and to grow. Some other companies, they need to keep the same, because that's like, it's a need that doesn't change over time, or at least in a long period of time. So if you as a business developer have this mindset of design thinking, and as a designer, you can really tap into this power, power skill that is active listening to both like people in the organization, also the customers. And then with those information, better understand how might you design the business moving forward. Do you need to change something, prototype, and etc. So I don't have the classic, business developer view, but more this, kind of innovation driven, or a source of, movement in a company.
Yeah. Well, that was a really useful tip. And if I can just spin off on that a little bit, we're gonna have students listening to your talk. So I'm just thinking like,
Okay.
if you could have like any tip or like talk about the opportunities for us who are graduating as business developers.
Yes, of course. I would say, soon you will start working with clients if you haven't started yet in your Hyper Island journey. And it's a really good, moment for you to put your like student hat and try different approaches. So I would say there to like come to a project and be the one maybe asking the questions for the client and being the contact person if you're a bit more shy and usually don't want that kind of role, to just like put yourself in the, out of the comfort zone and try something, and maybe get someone in the team that is usually the one that is more talkative, and maybe even have like the background and experience with that, like to mentor you. Because again, you're such in a special opportunity of working with clients on real briefs. It's pretty real, but at the same time, you're inside a school, so the expectation on you is not to deliver like the most amazing thing, but actually for you to deliver something that is good, that is relevant for the client, and learn. So remember that. I think when I was a student, when I was in your shoes, many times I would just think about delivering for the client, because I want to show like an amazing work. And I was forgetting at the times that actually I'm here to study, I'm here to learn, and it's okay for me to try something and even fail, because what can happen? We don't have even grades at Hyper Island, so you will not get a 0 for that. So yeah, make that room for experimenting, different roles, different approaches, and things that you would not do if you were like hired inside a company. Or it will be a bit more scary to do, I mean. And then soon you go on internship, and I would say again, remember, like in your internship, welcome like an opportunity that you think it's interesting, that you'd like to test and prototype, if that's something for you, because it's such a unique opportunity for you to like hijack and go inside a company that you would like to work and shadow someone that has the role that you would like to have in the near future. So again, put that, intern hat, no matter your background and level of experience. It's such a good opportunity, for you to decide like, okay, is this career path something for me? Or how this person that is succeeding in the role that I want to have in the future, how this person got there. What is the day-to-day of this person? Is this something for me? And when choosing your internship, like I would say, talk with people that are in the roles that you would like to have in the near future. I was very passionate about agile coaching. And I was like, okay, my dream job would be to do an internship in Spotify and do that. But then after I talked with 3 agile coaches, I realized that it's not my cup of tea. I love what they do, and I believe, and I love like all the methods that they use and etc. But I was like, okay, I can bring all of that in my toolbox to be a leader in the future. I don't need to do that as my full-time job. So it's so good to talk with people, to get better insights, because sometimes we just dream about a role that in the reality is something else.
Right. That is actually super useful advice. I mean, the first tip about like daring to try and to fail, and that is super useful for students. And I mean, finding a mentor and finding what you like or not. I feel a lot of people go into the workplace and they just do something that they might not actually like. So that is great advice.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, I'm gonna respect your time. You answered all of our questions, so thank you very much for that, Marie.
Thank you. That was so nice to talk, and I think by sharing all this with you, I also like hear myself back, so it's also beneficial for me, to be honest, to be here and reflect on the questions that you're asking.
Wow. Thank you so much, Marie, for an inspirational talk with focus on collaborating and reflecting. Next up, we're going to talk with Iñaki. It's going to be a very creative talk about trends and a new perspective on business development. Stick around and find out.
I was thinking if we could just start by briefly talking about you and who you are and what you're doing, and that's okay.
Absolutely. So I'm Iñaki Escudero. I live in the US. I've been here for 33 years, originally from Madrid, Spain, but I've always been very curious. So when I was in Madrid, I was curious about living here. And now that I'm here, I'm curious about going back to Europe. So that's kind of the way my mind works. That curiosity leads me to try different experiments and things. I think learning is our great superpower. So being constantly learning helps me feel that I'm using that superpower every day. Because what's the point of having a superpower if you don't get to use it, right?
Right.
So I try to push myself to do things that I don't think initially I'm capable of, like reading a book per day, per week. And I've been doing that for 13 years. Running marathons, I finished 29, but every time I finish one, I can't believe it. It's like, wow, you can finish a marathon. That's amazing. So just I reward myself with challenges and to test myself on whether or not I can accomplish them. And as I said, learning is one of them, and I push myself to learn something new. So
Amazing, really good to hear. Could you just like shortly describe what kind of work you do?
yeah, of course. I'm a learning designer, facilitator, speaker. I work mostly with Hyper Island. But I have my own clients too, and I've been doing this for 11 years. Before that, I was a creative director and a strategy director in advertising.
All right, awesome. So you were speaking a little bit about learning as a superpower and pushing yourself to your limits. And I just want to spin off on that. Like, do you have any opinion on what qualities like makes a business developer succeed? Like what's good for a
Yeah,
business developer?
I better, right?
Yeah. Right. I think you do.
I think, I mean, at the end of the day, a business developer is about growth, right? So your job is to help a business grow. Now, if you are able to do that the right way, while staying within the ethical lines, invisible lines of doing the right thing for the right reasons, then you are doing an amazing job. Unfortunately, in the real world, that's difficult because the real world is constantly asking us to compromise. So it's very few times in life that you get a clear white or black. You know, you're either good or bad. There's no in between. And what I have learned is that in life is spent in betweens. So very few times you can make a decision that is absolutely white or absolutely black. And so learning how to navigate the in-betweens so they lean towards what you believe is the right thing is a talent. It's a skill you need to develop. What are the limits of my compromise? And if I get to the edge, am I going to be tempted to cross that line under the assumption that just once is okay? Only to realize that the second time it gets easier. The 10th time, you even forgot there was a line there. So if you can keep those lines, even though they are invisible, clear in your head when making decisions that you're going to force to make, unfortunately, I think that will give you an advantage. Not a competitive advantage, but an advantage to yourself. Because I think we underestimate clarity. And if you are not clear about who you are and what you want, the purpose of your existence, which is not easy to get, but at least we could ask ourselves every day, right? No harm in asking us. If you are clear on your compass, making those decisions gets easier. So clarity is a premium. And you get to clarity by asking yourselves a lot of questions, asking other people a lot of questions, reading a lot, listening to a lot of different voices, understanding who you are, but more importantly, what you are not and who you are not. Eliminating options ahead of you. Would I ever do that? No, I wouldn't. Okay, well, that's clarity. And I think the curiosity to explore what those limits are. Otherwise, how will you know if you've never been there? I'm talking about ethics as applied to business, ethics as applied to sustainability choices, ethics as applied to human choices. You know, I think you are going to have to navigate all those fields once you are hired to be a business developer.
Right. Definitely awesome. So to summarize it a little bit, so having a clear purpose and living in between.
Yeah.
Awesome advice, really good. So one of our missions this week for our task is, to kind of identify trends. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about trends that's ongoing right now and upcoming trends that you might be able to see?
Yeah. I define trends as change, right? What's changing? And if it's not changing, it's not a trend. We just notice now. So AI is not a trend. AI has been around for 20 years. It's been behind the scenes or in front of the scenes through Amazon Alexa and chatbots on customer services websites. We just never noticed because either it wasn't very smart or it wasn't really doing a great job for us. Now with ChatGPT, we are noticing AI, but AI as itself is not a trend. What is a trend is that people found value in it, and that there is a significant difference between one and the other. So AI as technology is not a trend. Humans wanted to incorporate AI in their lives is a trend, and that is fun because when people embrace new technology for their own entertainment or playing, or how can I apply this to make my life a little bit easier, that's when it gets fun, right? So technology has been always around, and we are going to talk about this in our class, but because I speak about exponential technologies, technology has been around for a long time. The boom of technology and the exploration of technology to be applied to human life has been around since the 60s in a way that is meaningful. So that's about 60, 70 years of people working, putting the long hours in the dark, nobody knows about it, to the point where now you have such a large database of content accessible to a program, software, an algorithm, that algorithm can do things that seems like magic, right? 10 years ago, maybe they had access to Wikipedia. Now they have access to 1 million times Wikipedia, and that's when it gets fun. But we have to be patient, and sometimes we are not willing to be patient. So in terms of trends, I will say I like to pay attention to what's changing. In this case, I get paid to identify trends in travel, for example, in how consumers are expecting or how hotels can provide services to travelers in a way that addresses trends, right? So if you want to really go far into the future, a trend will be that people are sick and tired of having to pay for their luggage or have to carry their luggage. Even if we put wheels in luggage, which took a long time, by the way, people are tired of it. So what if your destination, your hotel, provides that wardrobe for you, so you don't have to carry it with you? How do they do it? They do it by printing the material. As soon as you arrive, you have a selection of wardrobe to choose, and then you step into a machine, and the machine prints whatever you need to wear on top of your body. That the trend is people are getting tired of dealing with the more bothersome aspects of traveling, because traveling is getting very easy, right? But when you go to check out of Ryanair or one of those cheap airlines, they charge you for luggage, they charge you for seats, and that's becoming annoying. So I don't want to carry with me anything, just including the price of the hotel room, $50 for clothes, so I don't have to deal with it. And they are disposable, okay? And this is the line I was telling you about. If they are disposable, isn't that unethical in terms of disposing clothes all the time? As a business opportunity for a hotel, sounds like a great idea, right?
Right.
As a business developer, I think you're doing a great job understanding human trends, market trends, and offering a solution. It could really represent a lot of revenue for a hotel chain to start that business. What do you do with the clothes? So that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. You need to think in systems, so you can provide value also with the disposable of disposing the clothes to provide value to somebody else. And now all of a sudden your idea grows exponentially to add value to many different parts of the system, not just the hotel.
Right. I love how you separated and talked about as a business developer, that's a great idea, but in an ethical matter, it's another question. That is awesome. And also, I think we got some of the best valued advice from you now, because everyone is talking about AI as a trend. You said trends are a change, and AI is not the trend, but the value in AI is the trend. And that's amazing. So thank you for that advice. I'll try and move on a little bit. It was super interesting. I want to talk more about it, but I'll move on a little bit. I was wondering if you could talk about different fields as a business developer and what field you think a business developer could succeed in the most.
What do you mean by field?
Like industry, like tech, or
Yeah. I think technology is a good friend for a business developer. I think understanding how technology works and the ways in which the technology adds value by helping things be easier, right? So I'm working with a company that is in the business of teaching languages. Duolingo has democratized learning a language. And in the explanation of the business, the founder speaks about how learning a language is traditionally expensive and not accessible to many people all over the world. So he has created a business that makes learning a language accessible. I think we all can agree that that's a very, very good idea, right? And for what I know, I have used Duolingo to learn Portuguese. I have used Duolingo to learn Japanese. It's one of those experiments I was telling you at the beginning. Could I spend 6 months learning Japanese and actually learn Japanese and speak it? So I was doing really well for 4 months, and then I realized that my growth has stopped. That I went from 0 to 10 very fast, but from 10 to 12 it was very slow. Because I'm in Austin, Texas. What chances do I have of practicing Japanese? Right. My kids didn't want to know anything about it. So I stopped. So the thing is, Duolingo is a great application of technology for a great cause, the democratization of learning a language. But is it effective? Does it actually teach you a language? I think that's, to answer your question, the application of business development to Duolingo would be not in the idea itself. The application of the technology to democratize learning a language is business development. But I will go a little bit further. Are we really teaching a language, or are we giving people a false sense of access to learning a language? And I will ask myself, look, as Nike, I can build the shoes. It's up to you become the athlete. So I can build the ecosystem. It really is up to you to learn a second language by putting the work every single day, right? So I think as a business developer, you need to be willing to ask the right questions and the tough questions to yourself and to others to make yourself persuasive that they want to have these conversations with you and have an honest conversation about whether or not those answers are relevant. And that comes from curiosity, really. So any field needs a contrarian mind that forces me to ask the tough questions. Any field.
So what you're saying is you're kind of providing opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not saying you're going to be this, but you're giving them the opportunity of doing something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as a business developer, you the best you can do is to provide opportunities. The decision is not ultimately yours, but you provide interesting opportunities to people for growth.
Wow, great advice. So talking about advice for business developers, we have students who are going to listen to this podcast and listen to your talk. I was just thinking if you have any advice or anything you want to share for everyone who's upcoming business developers.
I think I've mentioned a lot of the most important ones. Stay curious, try to learn, ask questions, ask tough questions to yourself and others. Be persuasive, learn how to be persuasive. I think the number one thing really at the heart of everything, the one thing that be in the middle that touches upon everything else is try to understand humans. Try to understand us, observe how we behave. We are not this aspirational person who I wish I had more time in the day so I could learn nuclear physics. No. I wish I had more time in the day to watch the Netflix show that I couldn't watch yesterday. You know, it's understanding humans, is understanding really what drives us. And what drives us is Homer Simpson's philosophy. I want my life to be easier.
Right.
You know, it's not necessarily I want my life to be better. Right. I want my life to be easier.
So the
and I think understanding that is really key.
Yeah, so the selling point is, how do I make something easier for this person?
If you look around our services and products, that's the common denominator.
Right. Awesome. That was like the last question that we need to cover. Great advice. This talk has been so inspirational. You've given me so much insight, and I think our whole class are going to be so grateful for this.
I'm grateful you asked, and I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to having you in class in December, I think.
Thank you for joining us today on the enriching episode of the Industry Sweep. We're truly grateful to have had the opportunity to sit down and chat with leading experts Iñaki Escudero and Mariana Treigher. Join us next time as we continue to explore the ever-evolving world of business development. Until then, keep innovating and stay ahead of the curve. This has been the Industry Sweep, signing off.